The Battle of Iwo Jima stands as one of the most significant and brutal confrontations of World War II, marking a pivotal moment in the Pacific theater. Fought between the United States and Japan from February 19th to March 26, 1945, this battle was driven by the strategic necessity of capturing the small island of Iwo Jima, located about 750 miles south of Tokyo. The island's importance lay in its airfields, which the Japanese could use to launch attacks on American bombers flying from the Mariana Islands to Japan. For the Americans, seizing Iwo Jima would not only eliminate this threat, but also provide a valuable base for future operations, including a potential invasion of Japan. Strategic importance of Iwo Jima. By early 1945, the United States had gained significant ground in the Pacific, but Japan still posed a formidable challenge. Iwo Jima, though small in size, only about 8 square miles, was crucial to the Japanese defensive strategy. The island's airfields allowed Japanese forces to intercept and attack American bombers en route to Japan, making it a critical barrier that the United States needed to overcome. Capturing Iwo Jima would provide the U.S. with a forward base for fighter planes and emergency landing for bombers, effectively shortening the aerial distance to Japan and allowing for more efficient and sustained bombing campaigns. The Japanese defense strategy. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kurabayashi, the Japanese commander on Iwo Jima, knew that his forces could not stop the American invasion. Instead, he aimed to inflict maximum casualties and delay the American advance as long as possible. Unlike in previous battles, where Japanese troops often defended the beaches directly, Kurabayashi employed a different tactic. He ordered his men to construct an intricate network of tunnels, bunkers, and hidden artillery positions within the island's rugged terrain and volcanic rock. Designed to withstand even the most intense American bombardment and force the Marines into a prolonged and costly battle. Kurabayashi's approach was a departure from the traditional Japanese strategy of defending to the death in frontal assaults. He forbade banzai charges, which had characterized previous battles in the Pacific. Instead, his troops would fight a war of attrition, staying hidden during the initial bombardment and then emerging to engage the Americans in a deadly and relentless defense. The Japanese forces, numbering around 21,000, were well prepared, with vast stockpiles of ammunition, food, and water, ensuring they could hold out for an extended period. The invasion begins. On the morning of February 19, 1945, after days of intense naval and aerial bombardment, the United States launched one of the largest amphibious assaults in history. Over 70,000 U.S. Marines, organized into 3 divisions, began landing on the black volcanic sands of Iwo Jima's southeastern beaches. The initial landings were met with an eerie silence. The Marines expected fierce resistance from the outset, but as they advanced inland, they found little opposition. This was all part of Kurabayashi's plan. The initial landings were met with an eerie silence. The Marines expected fierce resistance from the outset, but as they advanced inland, they found little opposition. This was all part of Kurabayashi's plan. advancing Americans. The volcanic ash, which made up much of the island's surface, hindered the Marines' progress, making it difficult to dig foxholes or find cover. The terrain, combined with the well-coordinated Japanese defenses, turned the island into a deadly maze. The Marines quickly realized that taking Iwo Jima would be a far more grueling and bloody task than they had anticipated. The struggle for Mount Suribachi. Primary objectives of the initial assault was the capture of Mount Suribachi, a 546-foot dormant volcano at the southern tip of the island. Suribachi's summit provided a critical vantage point over the landing beaches, and its capture was essential for securing the southern part of the island. For several days, the Marines fought their way up the slopes of Suribachi, facing fierce resistance from Japanese defenders entrenched in caves and bunkers. On February 23, 1945, after 4 days of intense fighting, a patrol from the 28th Marine Regiment reached the summit. American flag, signaling the capture of the mountain. Later that day, a larger flag was raised, and it was this moment that photographer Joe Rosenthal captured in what would become one of the most iconic images of World War II. The photograph of 6 Marines raising the flag atop Mount Suribachi symbolized the courage, determination, and sacrifice of the American forces. However, the battle was far from over, and the capture of Suribachi was only the beginning of the struggle for Iwo Jima. The Northern Assault and the Japanese resistance. Suribachi secured, the focus shifted to the northern part of the island, where the bulk of the Japanese defenses remained. Challenging, with steep ridges, rocky outcrops, and a labyrinth of tunnels and bunkers. The Japanese defenders, now fully engaged, fought with a tenacity that surprised even the battle-hardened Marines. Every inch of ground was fiercely contested, with the Americans facing constant sniper fire, artillery bombardments, and counterattacks from Japanese troops emerging from hidden positions. The fighting in the northern part of the island was characterized by its brutality and high casualties. The Marines used flamethrowers, grenades, and explosives to clear out the Japanese bunkers, often engaging in close-quarters combat. The Japanese defenders were skilled at using the island's natural features to their advantage, setting traps and ambushes that inflicted heavy losses on the advancing American forces. As the battle wore on, the Japanese strategy of attrition began to take its toll on the Americans. The Marines found themselves engaged in a slow, grinding advance with progress measured in yards rather than miles. The cost in lives was staggering, and nearly every Japanese soldier fought to the death, preferring suicide over surrender. Were also devastating, with thousands killed and many more wounded in the relentless combat. The final push. By mid-March, the Americans had captured most of the island, but isolated pockets of Japanese resistance continued to hold out. These remaining defenders, cut off from supplies and reinforcements, continued to fight with the same determination that had characterized the earlier stages of the battle. The final phase of the battle saw the Marines rooting out the last Japanese defenders from their fortified positions in the northern part of the island. The last organized Japanese resistance was crushed on March 26, 1945, marking the official end of the battle. Aftermath and legacy. The Battle of Iwo However, isolated Japanese soldiers continued to emerge from hiding and conduct guerrilla attacks for several weeks after the island was declared secure. These holdouts, who refused to surrender, were a testament to the fierce loyalty and resolve instilled in the Japanese troops by their commanders. The Battle of Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest in the Pacific theater, with nearly 7,000 U.S. Marines killed and over 19,000 wounded. Japanese casualties were even more staggering, with approximately 21,000 defenders killed and only about 200 taken prisoner. The island's capture provided the U.S. with a critical air base for subsequent operations, including the bombing of mainland Japan. However, the high cost of the battle also raised serious concerns about the potential casualties of a full-scale invasion of Japan, contributing to the eventual decision to use atomic bombs later in the war. The legacy of Iwo Jima is one of sacrifice and heroism. The image of the flag raising on Mount Suribachi became a powerful symbol of American resolve and was used to rally support for the war effort back home. For the Marines who fought there, the battle was a defining moment, one that would be remembered for its intensity, its hardships, and the bonds formed in the crucible of combat. In the years since the battle, Iwo Jima has come to symbolize the cost of war and the lengths to which nations will go in pursuit of victory. The island, once a scene of unimaginable violence, is now a place of reflection and remembrance, where the bravery and sacrifices of those who
What do you think about this issue? Please leave a comment below for everyone to know and discuss. Goodbye and see you again.